something which is very essential. That is a unit for disaster response and disaster management. How we are going to respond for that disaster, how we are going to manage the disaster, what kind of management, what sort of management they are going to take into consideration. So there is various plans by the various authorities in India. So first of all, the disaster response plan. So we have to plan it. So we know very well, for the purpose of the disaster management, preparedness, planning, and mitigation process is very essential. So first we are going to see about the plan, how we are going to face the disaster, which means the post disaster management, how we are going to take the disaster into consideration, how we are going to face the loss. What is the plan the authorities is going to make for such kind of loss, and what are all the plans they have with them to recover from the such kind of disaster. This is what we are going to see in this fourth chapter. The first one is disaster response plan. The actions taken in the initial minutes of an emergency are critical, which means at the first stage after the disaster is a very critical stage, because no one have an idea what's happened and what is going to happen. So at that time, the authority will make a notification. Promptly, they warn the victims to evacuate, or to give a shelter, or to put the people inside the house, which means the lockdown, the present situation of a whole universe, the lockdown. So that by way of means, that means they will save the lives. So the first and foremost thing is very critical emergency stage, which means after the disaster, post disaster. It is not after uh, days or months, but it is after the happenings, which means within a few minutes after the disaster, what is going to happen, how to secure the victims, how to make the victims life safe. So that process is called the response plan. How we are going to respond the disaster, what kind of management the authorities is going to take care. So that is a first stage, very first stage. So a prompt warning to employees to evacuate, shelter, or lockdown can save lives. It has also taken into account the work and learning of many international bodies, international agencies, and disaster management plans of many other countries. So we have to consider, what we have to consider if we are facing a disaster like earthquakes or flood or any kind of cyclones. We have to think whether the such kind of disaster happened anywhere. If such kind of disasters happened anywhere, we have to follow the plan, how they mitigated the disaster, how they faced the disaster. Such kind of things, it's a record which we have already with us. So we have to go with the record. So we have to plan accordingly to the process, according to the disaster. So according to the disaster, the international bodies and international agencies will come up, and they will work along with the disaster management authorities of the country. So we have to look into the disaster management authorities of various countries, so that we can evacuate, so that we can produce the shelter, so that we can save the lives of the victims, one who is affected due to the disaster. And second one is the vulnerability of Indian subcontinent towards disaster, both natural and man-made, is widely recognized. India is vulnerable to various natural disasters like flood, droughts, cyclones, earthquakes, landslides, avalanches, forest fires. Losses caused by disaster continue to mount year after the year, which means every year various kinds of disaster we are facing. So according to that disaster, we have to make the disaster response plan. So only by way of making such kind of plan, if we are facing the any kind of disaster afterwards, they will make a plan, and they will respond very keen and keen about the safe of the people, as well as they will respond in a proper way, so that they will evacuate and they will make a victims very safe. It is a record. So according to the Indian subcontinents, we know very well what are the disaster we are facing in um, so far years and upcoming years also. So we have a plan what kind of disaster may happen, what kind of disaster happened already. So according to the record, we have to be very well prepared, and after the disaster we have the response with the proper plan so that we can save the life of the people. And next one is the need for an effective disaster management strategy to lessen disaster impact is increasingly being felt in many quarters, and also for strengthening of organizational structure for disaster management. It is one of the very important process, which is having an effective disaster management strategy. What are all the strategies or other countries are following for such kind of disasters? What are all the strategies other international agencies and international bodies following to safeguard the life of the people, one who is affected by the disaster? So such kind of strategies has to be considered, and by way of that strategy, there will be a lesson amount of loss faced by the people. So that should be very effective strategy to mitigate the disaster. Mitigate is nothing but it is a response for the disaster. How we are going to safeguard the life of the people, that is what the disaster response plan is. So strengthening the organizational structure, organization, various organizations will come up with the various plans, and if they are a weakened sector, then obviously the disaster management will get collapsed. So they should be the organizational behaviors should be very strengthened according to the disaster management. From their strength only they will work keen, and they will look into the process of the disaster management, which manage the life of the people after the disaster. So they have the various management plans and various policies to take care of the disaster. And this disaster management plan, it depends on the various bodies. And first one is National Policy on Disaster Management Plan. So NPDMP. So this is what the very essential policy which taking care of the disaster management plan. This section enumerates the policies that have been developed for the management plan in view of the lessons learned from the previous disaster. So as we saw earlier, according to the previous record, according to the previous disaster plans, according to the previous years of disasters or various record from the various countries, how they made the policy, how they developed the management of after the disaster, what is the disaster response plan. So all these kind of things has to be learned as a lesson for the proper way of making a strategy for the disaster management. This includes policies developed for the mitigation preparedness. So mitigation we know response plan, what they are going to do after the disaster. So preparedness is it is a pre-disaster management. How, for example, according to the climatic condition and the climatic report, the authority will say there will be a cyclone in upcoming 3 days, or there will be a heavy rainfall in upcoming days. So we have to be prepared with the strategies. We have to be prepared with the response plan so that we will be ready to face the disaster of the whether it's a natural disaster or it will be like a man-made disaster. We have to be very prepared for the disasters by way of the records and by way of the various um, responses of the various authorities in across the universe. The next one is a mitigation development activities. This section forms an important part of the entire plan, as the effectiveness of the response activities primarily depend upon the preparedness achieved during non-disaster times. In the past, the approach towards coping with the effects of disaster has been post-disaster management, mainly involving actions like evacuation, search and rescue and rehabilitation, etc. So this plan, which means a mitigation, post-disaster management. After the disaster, how the authorities is going to mitigate the disaster, how to going to recover the people, give the recovery to the people after the disaster. This section is the entire plan as effectiveness of the response. So response to the disaster. So evacuation, search, rescue, and rehabilitation. The post-disaster management. What is meant by evacuation? The taking of the people and evacuate from the one place to the and settle them in the another place. So search. For example, if the people is missing in an earthquake, or if the people is missing in a flood, or in a tsunami, if the people is missing, so the person will search whether there is any kind of bodies we can rescue, whether we have to take care, or whether we have to safeguard the any kind of people who's missing. So there will be a process called search. So after the search, they will rescue the people. After rescuing the people, they will be rehabilitate, which means they will settle in a one place. They will make them to settle in a one place for time being. This is the very essential process once after the disaster, which means the post disaster management. And next one is a legal framework. There is no enactment either of the union or of state to deal with the management of disaster of all types in a comprehensive manner. The Environment Act 1986 was passed for the protection and improvement of environment and the prevention of hazards to human beings, other living creatures, plant and proper authority. So legal framework is nothing but it is a basic thing which is which has a legal entity to provide the rehabilitation, to give the to recover them from the disaster and to rescue them from the disaster. This is the legal framework. So there is no we know very well there is no exact legislation to talk about the disaster management, but still this Environmental Protection Act 1986 dealt with the protection and improvement of the environment, which also comes under the purview of the disaster management. Next one is planning assumptions in disaster management. What is meant by planning assumptions? What kind of plans we have to execute after the disaster, or what kind of plan we have before the pre-disaster? So we know very well pre-disaster management and the post-disaster management. In a pre-disaster management, we'll be having a preparedness, whereas in a post-disaster management, we will be having a mitigation process. The planning assumption is utilization of resources can be ensured if the conditions of the disaster are assessed and taken into consideration during the planning phase. So they have to plan, very key. They have to plan about the post disaster, as well as they have to plan about the rehabilitation, recovery, as well as rescue process. This is the essential phase of the disaster management. Emergency support function. Each emergency support function is headed by the primary emergency, which has been selected based on its authorities, resources, and capabilities to support the functional area. So emergency support function is a body. It is a kind of function which selects the authority and selects the resources and select the capable person to support the functional area. The functional area is nothing but it is the area which is affected due to the disaster. And situation report. Not only the mitigation process, which means not only the recovering process, or not only any process which taking care of the disaster, but also the report has to be submitted to the authority, disaster management authority, because only after the report they will be knowing what is the exact scenario in a place where the disaster occurred. So situation reports, the time to time situation report has to be submitted to the disaster management authority. uh, the situation report provides an update of relief operation at regular intervals. These reports are crucial for planning out response actions to the affected area. So we know, we saw it earlier, the situation reports, which means a situation report provides an update of relief operation. So what how many people are there? So there is a report how many people are there, what is the census, how many people are getting affected. how many people are wounded. So all these kind of report has to be submitted to the disaster management authority, and they will come up with the team and they will rescue the people. So in this uh, manner, the situation report is plays a very vital role. Next one is quick response for rescue relief in major disaster. Um, for example, in a Odisha cyclone and a earthquake, Bhuj earthquake, the central government has to respond appropriately at the earliest. To meet situations like, perhaps there may be a need to institutionalize a standing committee of a group of ministers comprising ministers from the Minister of Defense, Health, Agriculture, Railways, Surface Transport, Power, etc. to chat by the Home Minister. So it's very clear example is COVID-19, the present scenario. According to the situation, the government will respond appropriately. Only if the government is responding appropriately, then only we can settle the issue. Then only we can put the issue in a end. If there is now it is a medical disaster. Like disease is spreading, pandemic disease is spreading all over the universe. Now the government is putting forward their efforts in various means to stop this kind of spreading of diseases. So this is what I'm mentioning here. So that should be a quick response and that should be a proper relief in major disaster. So this completely depends on the authorities and it completely depends on the government. Then the evacuation process. What is meant by evacuation? We know very well. Evacuation is a process where from if the person is affected, the victim is affected in one place, we have to evacuate from that place to the another place, or we have to change the scenario there. Prompt evacuation of employees requires a warning system that can be heard throughout the building, which means, for example, there is a fire drill in every company. If there is a fire alarm, if the people is hearing the fire alarm, employees having the fire alarm, obviously they will respond to that fire alarm. So this is the evacuation process to safeguard the people from the disaster, to make the people's attention about the disaster. For example, tsunami warning, fire warning, and cyclone warning, all these kind of things and all comes under the purview of the evacuation process. So make sure that there's sufficient exist available at all times. For example, in malls and all, they would have written, in case of fire, don't use lift. So these kind of things all comes under the purview of the evacuation process. There should be a various exist, not only the one or two exist, but there should be a various exist in a building to rescue themselves if there is any kind of disasters, man-made disaster or a natural disaster. Next one is appoint an evacuation team leader and assign employees to direct evacuation of the building. Assign at least one person to each floor to act as a floor warden to direct employees to nearest safe exit. For example, um, in various malls, for example, take for example in the Phoenix Mall, every floor has a various floor in charge. That floor in charge is responsible for the evacuation process. In case of any fires inside the malls, that floor in charge will assist the people to get out from the place by way of using the exist, fire exist, or various exist. So that is a proper way of evacuating the disaster, evacuation of the people from the disaster. Next one is roles and responsibilities for building owners and facility managers. Assign personnel the responsibility of controlling access to emergency scene and for keeping people away from the unsafe areas. Others should be familiar with the locations and functions of the controls for the building utility, life safety, and protection system. For example, if you are going in a ship or if you are going in a boating, obviously they will be providing you a life jacket, and the one who is providing will explain everything about the life jacket and in a aeroplane and all. So the air hostess will make you understand what is the purpose of the life safety jackets, how to use the respiratory process. So all these kind of things has to be explained to the each and everyone. The system of ventilation, or what kind of, where is the sanitary system, where is the emergency power supply, all these kind of things is known by the person, one who is as a floor in charge, or by a facility manager, or to the building owners. So they have to assign the proper responsible person to the building, or proper responsible person to the any means. They will be responsible for the any kind of disaster which may happen. So they have to be very clean about it. So this is one of the evacuation process. The next one is site and facility plans and information. So first one is the public emergency services have limited knowledge about your facility and its hazards. Therefore, it is important to document information and about your facility, which means it's a site plan. If you are having a layout, if you are having what is the exact engineering process, engineered building, which means if it has an engineered building, obviously you will be having a blueprint of the building. So where is the emergency exist? Where is the proper site plan, which means having a proper site plan, and which floor, and each floors have what kind of exist, and how many exist, and how to access to the road, how to access to the parking areas, and what is the exact building property, and which is the entrance to the building, and where the building is exactly located, and how we are going to utilize the emergency equipment. All these kinds of things has to be notified to the people inside the building, so that there will be access to the emergency exist when they are accessing, when they are facing the disaster. Preparing a facility for a forecast event, which means the event which going to happen. Body copy, which means actions to be prepared. A facility for a forecast event depend upon the potential impacts from the hazards associated with the event. Property conservation action should focus on the protection of building and valuable machineries, equipments, and materials inside the building. So body copy, it is a action plan. It is an action plan of the forecast event. How we are going to face the event, how we are going to face the disaster, what kind of plan we have, that is called body copy. With that, what kind of potential impacts from the hazard associated with the event, how to safeguard the property of the building, how to protect the building, how to protect the valuable machineries in the building, how to protect the people inside the building. So all these kind of preparedness plan has to be in the body copy. Next one is potential damage may be prevented or mitigated by inspecting the following building features, systems, and equipment. And as we saw earlier, we have to be very clean about the blueprint of the building. So that is what they are saying here. Windows and doors, how many windows and doors are there in a building? Roof flashing, covering, and drainage. Where is the all these kind of equipments, or where they place inside the building, how the building is covered, what is the drainage system, what kind of drainage system is maintaining in a building. So what is the exterior sign of the building, then mechanical equipments, antennas, and satellite dishes on rooftops. So all these kind of things has to be monitored by the proper authority, which means the in charge, the whole building in charge or floor in charge. Outside storage tanks and equipments. So the basic necessity of this body copy is this building should not lead to the any other further disaster like Ryle Fletcher. So that should not be any kind of like there should not be any kind of strict liability towards the building. So they have to secure themselves. If any kind of earthquakes is leading to the collapse of the building. If any kind of life threatening things is there in a building, obviously it will create more loss to the various peoples in and around the building. So the building owner, the in charge of the building has to be very clear. There is no such kind of things inside the building. Even though there is a such kind of things inside the building, they have to make sure that things will not make any kind of further disaster, which means a man-made disasters. Next one is a property conservation activities for specific forecast events include the following: winter storm, tropical storm, and flooding. So winter storm means any kind of, which means it's nothing but it's a storm. Tropical storms and hurricanes. So the storms and hurricanes are more or less same. So it depends on the flow of wind. It depends on the force of the wind. So if there is a winter storm, what kind of emergency has to be taken into consideration, and what kind of preparedness plan has to be taken into consideration, and what kind of things has to be considered if it is a winter storm, and if it is a flooding means what kind of things has to be done, what kind of the preparedness plan, what kind of mitigation plan is there with the building owners, it has to be considered. So now the human behavior and response management in the disaster management, how we are going to respond. In this age of science, the individual is facing different types of hazards. Disaster, either natural or man-made, is a natural occurrence in man's life. It leaves an immense effect on the individual's behavior and psyche, which means not only the physical loss, but also there is a mental agony after the disaster. So it will lose his mental peace, equilibrium, confidence, and results in his own personality get disturbed. For example, take for example the Mauliwakam issue. All the people who purchased the flats in Mauliwakam, obviously they lost their mental peace and equilibrium and confidence because they have put whole number of their whole amount which they invested, which got in a vein, which went in a vein because due to the natural disaster, or which is the liability, which is a negligence act of the building owner and various authority. But still, what is the mental agony, what is the mental process, how they will get the mental peace, which means I'm talking about the person, one who purchased the flats. Obviously they will have their stress. So how they are going to face such kind of things and all, what is the behavior, what kind of response the people are receiving after the disaster. At the time and after disaster, the sufferers normally experience a range of psychological and physiological reactions. The strength and type of which depends upon several factors as given below. First one is the prior experience with the same or similar event, intensity of disruptions, length of time that has elapsed after the occurrence of the event, individual feeling that there is no escape, that set the stage for panic, emotional strength of the individual. So all these kind of things will get affected. So we know, we discussed earlier, the mental stress, how they are going to get the peace, mental peace after the disaster. What kind of concepts, what kind of plan they have with them to face the such kind of disaster. So intensity of the disruption, how much of, how deep it created the wound, how deep the people is getting affected due to the disaster. So they will be put in a road, uh, though who may be a richest person in a world, but if he is facing the disaster, obviously he will come to the road one day, because obviously we cannot do anything if the natural disaster is happening. So what kind of thought process they will be having at the time of the disaster, how, at the time of losing the buildings, at the time of losing their own properties, obviously it will gives no peace at all. So how they are going to face, this is what the response management, human behavior and response management of the disaster. So we can segregate the such kind of human behavior into three phases: impact phase, inventory phase, and rescue phase. So everyone is affected emotionally. So according to the phases, we are segregating the phases into three. One is the impact phase, inventory phase, and rescue phase. In the process of impact phase, in this phase, victims do not panic and may in fact show no emotions. They know they do what they must to keep themselves and their families alive. For example, if it is a rain, heavy rainfall in a place, obviously the family members will make themselves safe. So there is no emotions, but still they will be very keen about making themselves safer at the time of the disaster. Next one is inventory phase. This phase immediately follows the event. Victim assess damage and try to locate other survivors. For example, if they are going to lose the car in a disaster, obviously they will calculate what kind of loss they are facing, or what kind of the victims will assess. Victims is nothing but the person one who is affected in a disaster, or who is undergoing the pain, or he will come under the purview of the victims. So they will assess the damage and try to locate other survivors, which means how to recover from the disaster. The next one is rescue phase. The rescue phase, emergency services provides are responding and victims are willing to take directions from these agencies without protest. So rescue is safeguarding themselves after the disaster. Rescue phase, emergency services providers are responding and victims are willing to take direction from these agencies without protest, without any kind of delay or without any kind of agitation. They will be rescued. And next one is obviously the recovery phase. What are all the things they have lost in a disaster? What kind of phase, what kind of recovery things has to be taken into consideration? What are all the things they have lost in a disaster, and what kind of recovery process has to be considered for the disaster? So this is one of the example how they manage the disaster, which is it's in Gujarat earthquake, 26 January 2001. A lot of psychological issues, which means they found the vulnerable group. Vulnerable group is nothing but the people, one who is affected, one who is um, offended, which means get offended to the disasters, who is sufferings. Which group is suffering more? They found in a Gujarat earthquake in 26th of January 2001. Um, according to the Mr. G. Ramappa and S. Batra, they found the vulnerable group is children have reported some psychological problems. They found that many of the children who were sharp had started behaving differently after the event. So obviously, the disaster will create a huge amount of psychological impact, because we know, for example, if we have 500 rupees in our pocket, we had we would have so much of plan. But if we lose that 500 rupees, obviously we will be in a very bad state, and we will be losing our temper. Obviously, it creates the very big mental agony. So that is what they are mentioning here. Even though the person one who is very sharp, they acted differently after the disaster due to the psychological unrest. They lost the interest in studies also. So after the rescue operation might be over effective, the psychological needs of survivors and providers are recognized. Psychologists suggest that open, honest expression of emotions as a self-protection mechanism is very useful in coping with the stress or trauma. The stress or trauma very very much has to be considered at the time of the disaster, because only if we are considering their emotional, if they are affected mentally, if they are affected psychologically, we have to take care of them in the same way. We should know what kind of loss they have faced. We should know what kind of mental agony it is they are facing. So at the time only they will be, by the way only they will be recovered from the such kind of mental agony. To avoid emotional overall, survivor and rescuer should be allowed to express their feelings openly. So, for example, we know well if we are emotionally not well, or if we are psychologically unrest, we have to talk openly. We have to be very clear what we need, what we lost, what gives us peace. So this is a process. This is how they manage their stress. They mean it as a self protection mechanism. So they started asking about the emotions of the victims, one who is suffering in a disaster. The how it is disaster management group, how the authorities, how they are segregating the group. The first one is a brief personnel, emphasize teamwork, rotate personnel, encourage breaks, provide for proper nutrition, phase out workers gradually. This is a plan. This is a blueprint of the disaster management group. What have to be given to the rescue operation, what has to be given to the people one who is doing that rescue operation, because only if they are enthusiastic, only if they are committed to the work, the disaster management will take place in a proper way. So this what has to be considered: the brief personnel. Before the rescue, it is necessary to explain rescue workers operation begins about what they can expect to see and what they can expect in terms of the emotional response for themselves and others, which means they have to, the disaster management authority have to explain what kind of work they are going to do. Next one is emphasize teamwork. So they have to segregate the people into teams, and they have to allot the workload and distribute the job to the various teams, and rotate personnel, which means that there should be a work in a rotate basis. We should not allocate work to the single team. So every team has to work, and at the time of the tiring process, at the time of they will work very committed. But if they are undergoing any kind of pressure, or if they are undergoing any kind of tired or fatigue, then there should be a rotate basis, so that they will work properly. Then encourage breaks. So if working without the break, obviously it will give uh, stress to the workers also. So they have to be very clear, so that they will work properly. Next one is provide for proper nutrition. Authority, disaster management authority, that organization has to give a proper nutrition to the workers, so that they will uh, work properly. So rescue workers, they should be encouraged to taking food, water, etc. in between the work, so that they will work properly. Phase out workers gradually. It will be harmful to remove rescuers from other duties abruptly, as abrupt removal may cause additional stress to the rescuers. Next one is a stress management. We have seen a lot of things about the stress management. There should be a stress management, which means stress management in disaster. So separate programs has to be considered, and the people has to be monitored in regular interval, and they have to be undergone with the traumatic treatment according to the situation, and they have to be treated in a very proper way to come out of the such kind of mental agony. So next one is the medical and health response to different disaster. Each year, millions of people are affected by natural and man-made disaster around the world. Between 2002 and 2011, almost 17,000 disasters were reported around the world. In the same time, more than 1.2 million people lost their lives in tornadoes, hurricanes, heavy rains, earthquakes, and tsunamis. So disaster is not new to the universe. So every year we are facing the disaster, and every disaster is giving various lessons. And every disaster, the disaster management authority is working to overcome the loss. So one of the such thing is a medical and health response after the disaster. So, medical and health response is one of the very vital program has to be considered at the time of the disaster management. More than 2.5 million people have found themselves homeless, economically impacted or injured because of this disaster. Indeed, disaster would not be disastrous if it were not for their effect on the human population. The health consequences of natural disaster are complex. Disaster directly impact the health of the population, resulting in the physical trauma, acute disease, and emotional trauma. And also, it will spread the infections throughout the cities where the disaster occurred. For example, in 2015, the Chennai faced the heavy flood. At the time, a lot of infectious disease spread all over the cities. At the time, they run the medical camp and to evacuate and to mitigate the such kind of diseases, such kind of infections. So three main public health functions are the assessment and monitoring of health communities and population at risk to identify the health problems and priorities, the formulation of public policy designed to solve identified local and national health problems and priorities, the assurance that all population have access to the appropriate and cost-effective care, including health promotion and disease prevention services. So relief measures, we know what all the agencies, NGOs, Red Cross and national societies, all kind of national non-governmental organization as well as the governmental organization have taken care about this relief process, and it's nothing but it's a recovery process. It is a mitigation plan after the disaster. Now the food, we can classify into the short-term assistance, deferred assistance, and long-term assistance. If any, it depends on the impact of the disaster. If the disaster created a huge loss, according to that loss, the government authorities as well as the non-governmental organizations will provide food to the people. So short-term assistance, so sudden relief and food for the till they turns into till they become good, till they respond properly. A deferred assistance, long-term assistance. So according to the disaster, it will be defer. If the disaster gives the many or if the disaster occurs in a heavy way, obviously the food has to be given to the victims in a long time process. Then the essential components of the relief management. So mitigation, structural measures has to be taken by way of the technological solutions like foods, and non-structural measures include legislations, land use planning. All these kind of things comes into the purview of the relief management. So mitigation is the mitigation is the relief management. So next one is the preparedness. What kind of preparedness? So we discussed a lot about the preparedness, recovery, as well as the evacuation and the mitigation process. The preparedness, we can term it as a pre-disaster preparedness as well as the post-disaster preparedness. The pre-disaster preparedness is managers develop plans of action. Disaster strikes. Common preparedness measures include the communication of plans, which means, for example, if they receive any kind of notifications like all delta regions has to be very safe. So delta region consists of many districts. They cannot take care of the all districts, but still they can communicate about the preparedness plan so that each authorities in each district will take care of their own. So there should be a proper communication. So all these kind of things and all comes under the purview of the preparedness. And the response, we have seen about the response also. The response is a post-disaster management. It depends on the emergency and it depends on the impact created by the disaster. And recovery, and we know about the recovery also. We have discussed a lot about the recovery and how we are going to provide recovery things to the citizens. What are the various process has to be considered at the time of the after the disaster, what kind of loss they have faced, what kind of recovery has to be given to the people who is affected in a disaster, and relief funding. We know there is no proper 5-year plans for the disaster management, or there is no proper financial meeting on financial plans for the disaster management according to the traditional knowledge and according to the optimistic knowledge. They used to allot the fund according to the 48 1A of the Disaster Management Act 2005. The primary fund available to the state government for responses to the notified disasters, which means we cannot, for example, we never know about the tsunami, but we faced the tsunami. So we couldn't allocate the fund for the tsunami before that because we never witnessed the such kind of tsunamis. So at the time, the allocation of fund, it depends on the government officials. So state disaster response fund is the fund which contributes for the disaster. Next one is the local disaster scale of relief disaster mitigation fund, national calamity contingency duty. So national disaster response fund is funded through the national calamity contingency duty imposed on specific goods under the central excise and customs, which means in national level, if we are facing the any kind of disasters, the then the national calamity contingency duty will take care of the such kind of process. In state level, the state disaster response fund will take care of the funding. So what kind of funding mechanisms? Non-governmental organizations and people like us and companies will provide according to the corporate social responsibility, and every state has their own state disaster relief fund. So all these kind of things collectively use for the funding mechanism. So in such a way, there will be a there will be a proper disaster management fund and allocation of disaster management fund. Next one is Unit 5, risk assessment and vulnerability analysis. It is a small chapter. It is about the final stage of the disaster. What kind of risk there is? What kind of vulnerability among the people? Which group is said to be a vulnerable? So, which group is said to be vulnerable? So, at the time, how the government authority and government officials is taking care of it. So first one is a risk assessment. So risk assessment is nothing but it is preparedness plan. How come the disaster, how this disaster is going to create an impact in the society. So we have to evaluate it according to the types of building, according to the types of the crops, according to the types of the land, according to the types of the people. We have to analyze what kind of risk we are going to face. So this is the concept of risk assessment. And next one is how the risk assessment has to be considered. It has a following steps: hazard assessment, vulnerability assessment, capacity assessment, people perception of risk. So these are all the things has to be considered at the time of the risk assessment. So step 1, step 2, step 3, and so there's a 7 steps has to be considered at the time of the disaster risk assessment. Understanding the current situation, needs and gaps to be assessed that already exist, avoid duplication of efforts, and build the existing information and capacities. It is nothing but it is a preparedness plan. How we are going to face and what kind of system we have to evacuate and to mitigate the such kind of disaster by way of a risk assessment studies and by way of available data and information and by way of a correct institutional framework and the capability of the authority. So it has a 7 steps, and each steps depends on the assessment. So next one is a hazard assessment. Identify the nature, location, intensity, and likelihood of major hazards prevailing in a community or society. So second step is what kind of nature that location has, what kind of location is this, what kind of intensity the disaster will create. For example, there is a difference between the wooden house and the concrete house. So it depends on the disaster. The intensity of the loss will differ. So that is how we have to assess. So that is called as the hazardous assessment. Next one is exposure assessment to identify the population, which means now they are asking us to make a social distancing in this COVID-19. What is the what is the purpose of this? Because exposure assessment, this is called exposure. The pandemic disease is spreading by way of the exposure. So we do not expose to the such kind of things. So we have to identify the population and assess at risk and delineate the disaster prone areas. Next one is vulnerability analysis. How many children are there? How many women are there? How many aged people are there? So we have to calculate the vulnerability group. And next one is what kind of impact it will create. And next one is the risk profiling. How much of risk it will create. And finally, the formulation of revision or of disaster strategies and action plans. So this will safeguard us from it will not stop the disaster, but it will make us to settle safe. Next one is disaster risk reduction. If we are going to consider all steps, obviously the disaster risk reduction will be there. Which means we should not construct the new risk. So we should know the pre-existing risk and we will act according to the risk after the disaster. So again, we are going to see about the same thing: preparation, prevention, mitigation, transfer, and preparedness. So we have to identify and measuring the disaster risk, education and knowledge of development. So we have to educate. We should know what kind of disaster is this. We have to create awareness among the people so that they will settle in a place. For example, now they are roaming here and there, though the government is so keen about the social distancing. But because the people is not having the so much of knowledge about the pandemic diseases, so we have to create awareness by way of the education. Next one is informing people about their risk. So we have to inform every people about the risk and strengthening the institutional and legislative arrangements, providing financial protection for people and business at work. So now the government is doing right. Though we don't have a work in office, but still they are paying for it. So likewise, the financial protection of for the people has to be taken care. Then only the people will not roam outside. So then the people's participation. So how the people is going to participate in emergency period, how the people is going to participate in a restoration period, how the people is going to participate in a reconstruction period, how far the people are being very much close to the government and how much they are going to help the government in this process. And vulnerability analysis. So we have seen about this already. Vulnerability means whose weaker section, physically, socially, and economically and culturally weaker section of group in a society. So that if we are finding and we are analyzing the vulnerability group, then obviously we will be taking care of them. The vulnerability can be classified into physical vulnerability, social vulnerability, economical vulnerability, and environmental vulnerability. So according to the nature of the people, the vulnerability will differs. Vulnerability profile, we have seen in the first unit itself, the disaster profile of the India. So highly vulnerable to the floods, droughts, cyclones, earthquakes, landslides, avalanche, and forest fires. Almost 58.6% of the land mass is prone to the earthquakes of moderate, high intensity, high intensity. Over 40 million hectares are prone to the floods or river erosion. So these are all the things we have to consider. Next one is strategies for the survival. How we have to survive at the time of the disaster. First one, we have to identify the problems. What are the problems we are going to face after the disaster? So we have to be very prepared for that. Second one is be prepared. Next one is using of the technology to improve the disaster management capabilities. For example, using of mobile phones to communicate each and everyone, using of social media and create an awareness. So these kind of things and all has to be considered. Next one is the road to recovery, which means the path to recovery, how we are going to recover ourselves from the disaster. So next one is abide by the evacuation or emergency protocols. If the government is making any kind of protocol, we have to abide to the legislation. Next one is social infrastructure for vulnerability reduction. So what we are going to do with the people. So if it is a factors which affects the people, then what kind of factor is how to evacuate the such kind of factor. So we have to consider all such kind of things so that we have to reduce the so that we can reduce the risk factor. So with that, we are finishing the fifth chapter also. Thanking you.